Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining us for a review of the Fox Grip X2 damper. We're going to be talking about how it performed in the 40, 38, and 36 mil chassis. Spoiler alert, it's really forking good. Over the course of 2024, our crew have put in time aboard probably at least 10 forks with the newer Grip X2 damper. Cole and Robert attended the media event where they launched it earlier in 2024. Since then, we've ridden a lot of test bikes as well as test forks that were sent to us by Fox or other brands that had them spec'd on bikes. Again, 36, 38, and 40 in a range of travels. It is their new descending focused damper, and I personally am a huge fan of the bike industry's shift towards descending biased performance. I think for so long we have suffered from brands wanting to make stuff that's pedaling focused, and there are riders out there that care more about downhill performance than pedaling performance. So all these bikes that are prioritizing downhill performance, really excited about it. This new damper is definitely one of those products, and that's honestly one of the reasons we chose to highlight the Fox 40 today. A lot of the feedback we're going to be sharing will carry over across the 36 and the 38. I just personally think that the Fox 40 is the platform where some of the improvements are most notable. And what I mean specifically about that is stiction, friction, and suppleness. The Fox 40 is the largest diameter fork, right, in Fox's lineup. Larger stanchions, larger bushings, more surface area. That just means more stiction, more resistance, a little bit more of a lag before that fork would start to move and compress. Now, I liked the Fox 40 before. It was a good fork. It never like thrilled me. I wasn't in love with it. It was just a good fork. You know, it didn't let me down. It just wasn't the most amazing thing. That has changed with this new damper. And now we'll kind of get into the reasons why. So again, we're not going to get too into the weeds on, the marketing claims or the internal structure changes. There have been a lot of stories about that, videos about that. So if you want to read more about it, head to thelonewolf.com. We'll link our written review, and we'll also link the video that Cole and Robert made when they went to the press camp and interviewed some of the people at Fox. But essentially, some of the biggest things that helped improve the feel of this new damper are the new base valve diameter. It was increased from 20 millimeters on the Grip 2 to 24 millimeters on the X2. Similarly, the valves increased. There were 7 valves in the Grip 2, and there are 23 valves in the Grip X2. Now, the valve stack gives a lot more tunability and quicker response to bumps, and the 24 millimeter base valve allows for lower internal pressures, which again increases sensitivity and reduces response times. So before I wrapped this review up, not only did I talk and get a consensus from all of our test riders and people who've put time on the forks, but I reached out to Jordy, who is Fox's kind of World Cup master tuning guru, and asked him what I was feeling. Why was I able to notice a difference in this fork? And he quickly credited the hundreds of hours that were spent by the team and engineers to reduce the internal operating pressures, the increased flow, as well as reducing friction. So those 3 things, right, at a pretty high level, are what have improved the feel of these Grip X2 dampers. And again, with the Fox 40 having more surface area, that just meant it was the fork that suffered the most from that stiction and friction. And that's why I felt this was the best platform to highlight the improvement of the new damper. So with the improved design of the damper, reduced friction and lower pressures, all yielding a more sensitive, more supple fork, what does that translate to out on the trail? For me, as a tester and a rider who kind of suffers from hand and finger pain, I use feedback from the bike, primarily through my feet and my hands, to judge how a bike's suspension, frame, wheel stiffness are performing and getting me down the trail. Uh, and that's kind of where the Fox 40 of yesteryear left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion, because it would kind of have my hands hurting a little bit, right? Especially if I was at Whistler or doing super long descents. That little bit more of a spike in energy over a full day or a long, several thousand foot descent, it would just creep up on me. I really noticed that was improved greatly with this fork. Another example of that is we recently completed a downhill bike group test where we had 5 bikes in the mix. There were 2 bikes that had Fox 40s with the Grip X2 damper, and then other bikes that did not have the Grip X2 Fox 40. Some of our testers were right within a few pounds of each other rider weight wise, so we would swap between bikes and say, hey, hop on this one, give it a ride. If it needs adjustment, let's take time on the next run and do it. And those riders, without being told, noticed a difference in the Fox 40. That was what they pointed out most. They're like, wow, this bike's great. This, that, the other. I said, but I really can feel a difference in this fork. Like, this one feels a lot smoother than it did on the other bike. And that would lead them to kind of dive into what settings we had on our 40 to make it feel better than the one they were just riding. And that was kind of when we did the surprise. This is because it's the new Grip X2 damper. So that happened multiple times. So that's kind of a blind taste test, right? So to speak. There was no marketing or anything that made those riders have that feedback. It was just experiential. Now moving into the 38 and the 36, again, we've had those forks on a number of trail, enduro, e-bikes, and all of our testers have said similar things, right? It is smoother than the last 38 I rode or the last 36. I like the traction, I like the suppleness, the activity, the support, the smoothness and progression through the travel. All things that we noticed made this fork feel better than the outgoing fork. It is, like I said earlier, a downhill focused fork. So, on climbing, obviously not an issue on the 40, but like for the 36 rider, perhaps some 38 riders, if you're climbing and you're kind of weighting that front end, or you're kind of light on the front end, maybe even more so, you might notice a little more action as you're kind of going up steeper stuff. So that could be, I guess, a little bit of a loss of energy. However, that could also aid in your climbing, because rather than the front wheel hitting a little rock or a root and kind of unweighting and lifting that front end or causing it to wander and lose traction, it just can react better and go up and over that obstacle and keep you rolling forward and in a consistent pedal platform. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of discussions you get into around that, but again, it's more of a descending focused damper. And as descending focused riders here at the Lone Wolf, most of us prioritize downhill performance over uphill performance. So we're really excited to see brands, from bike kinematics to fork dampers, change their direction and give us more of what we want, which is a slight sacrifice on the uphill for better performance on the downhill. Speaking of performance on the downhill, right? There's probably a very small minority of riders who actually race. And for those who do race, it's probably not your paycheck. So is the fork worth buying? I can't tell you that. It's certainly an expensive investment to upgrade or get a new fork. And will the new fork all of a sudden take you from being mid-pack or 5th place to 1st place? Probably not, but it will feel better, and it will probably reduce some fatigue if you're having issues with hand or finger fatigue. If you're scrambling for traction, there's a chance that there will be a small but notable improvement in front end traction as that fork can work a little better and keep that tire down. So, there are ways to, I guess, value a purchase or an upgrade beyond the stopwatch. And if that's something that's important to you, or if you were just kind of looking for like, how much better is it? Is it better at all, or was it just marketing? All I can say is that every one of our crew and guest testers have noticed that this fork does feel smoother, softer, and better. You know, take that for what you will and for however important that might be. So from our perspective, 2 thumbs up to Fox for making this new damper a notable improvement. I feel like a lot of times stuff's pretty small. Maybe you notice it, maybe you don't, but this is something I think all of our testers, like I said, have noticed and appreciated across every chassis that we've ridden it on. So we're really stoked to see it. And I think a lot of riders are gonna be happy if they do get a new bike that has one or choose to do the upgrade route. So thanks again for watching, you guys. This was not a paid video or endorsement by any means. We will link again to our review as well as some potential spots that sell this fork. If you do want to support us in any way, there are some shops online that offer affiliate promotional codes to us, and we're always, you know, weary about that because we feel like, you know, the temptation to not be as honest in a review is there because you potentially are turning down a commission, right? Which is, you know, maybe a whopping 3 to 5% on a product, but at the same time, we understand that the impression is there to maybe not be as honest. So we've kind of resisted the affiliate link thing for quite a while. Let us know what you guys think about it. Does it devalue your trust or opinion of a media outlet if they are linking somewhere and have an affiliate code and you know that they might receive a small commission? That's something that we'd be really curious to know, because again, it's something that we've kind of held back on because we don't want you guys to think that that might sway our opinion and chance of making, you know, $14 because you buy a fork. So thanks again, you guys. We appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you out on the trails.